Prologue 1. Maria, my childhood sweetheart who had always treated me with cold indifference, suddenly showed up at the door of my classroom. She was wearing a preppy-style dress, her gaze occasionally drifting in this direction, as if she were waiting for someone. When her eyes glanced over here, my heart leapt with excitement. It was obvious. She was here for me. However, just as I was about to go over and talk to her, a figure moved faster than me. Makoto, with a calm face, walked straight past. With just one look, Maria's face lit up with joy, and she eagerly trotted after him. My footsteps froze in place. At that moment, bullet comments popped up out of thin air, mocking me. What's this male supporting role even thinking? How could you possibly compare to the protagonist Makoto? An ordinary, overconfident man like you, better not embarrass yourself. The next bullet comment followed. This male supporting role is a complete clown. Later he'll confess to the second female lead, Maria, only to be instantly rejected and slapped in the face on the spot. I was speechless. I fucking know already. How the hell could I still give her the chance to confess? I'm not stupid. Prologue 2. When people saw the fragile female supporting role setting up a stall on the street, everyone thought I would surely swoop in to redeem her broken self. Instead, drooling, I walked straight up and said, 1 order of grilled noodles, no chili. Grilled noodles refers to a type of snack where cold noodles are placed on an iron plate or charcoal fire to be grilled, and then eaten with added seasonings, she replied. All right, for the next 3 months, I said. 1 order of grilled noodles, no chili, she replied. All right. We repeated this conversation like machines. The bullet comments went wild with laughter. In this male supporting role's eyes, there isn't the slightest desire for beauty, only an obsession with grilled noodles. Who says sticking firmly to your choice isn't a kind of salvation for a street vendor? Ha ha ha. Main text. When I saw Willow at the snack street, she was standing behind a grilled noodles stall, wearing a simple white camisole, her face calm as she watched the hurried passers-by. The stall in front of her was completely empty, which made her look rather pitiful. I saw her, but my attention wasn't on her. It was on the fragrant grilled noodles. Saliva filled my mouth as I hurried forward and said, 1 order of grilled noodles, no chili. Hearing that, Willow lifted her head to glance at me and replied, all right. Her movements were skillful as she spread the batter and cracked an egg. With a crisp crack, golden egg liquid fell onto the flatbread. My eyes lit up immediately, and I praised, wow, your skills are pretty good. The girl's expression didn't change, but her hand trembled. Flipping the noodles too early, the wrapper tore slightly, but she reacted quickly, flipping it back within a second, and lightly hummed. No big problem, I replied. All right. The rest of the cooking went smoothly. After she packed it up, I paid and impatiently took a bite. The wrapper was chewy, the egg fragrant, with chopped scallions on top. Who could understand this? It was absolutely delicious. Originally, I thought that was it. But the next night, I found myself craving that flavor again. I frowned, hesitated for a second, and began to doubt the world itself. This is the drawback of being a supporting character. After one night, everything automatically resets. It's not that I had to eat it. With that thought, I felt justified in going back to the same snack street. It was summer, so the sky was still bright at 5 or 6 o'clock, but vendors were already out early. In the crowd, I instantly spotted that slender figure. The girl was thin, struggling to push her stall through the crowd. I couldn't wait any longer, thought for a moment, then walked over and said, let me help you. Perhaps she hadn't expected to see me again. Willow's gaze lingered on my face for 2 seconds. After a while, she finally spoke. Thank you. Her voice was clear and pure. I grinned, waved my hand, and said, hee hee, it's nothing. I'll take 1 grilled noodles, no chili, she replied. All right. After the stall was pushed back to its original spot, she began making noodles again, spreading the batter and cracking an egg, learning from yesterday's mistake. She didn't flip the wrapper too early this time. I eagerly watched her finish, scanned to pay, and once I got the noodles, I left without another word. Willow was speechless. Over the next 3 months, I often visited her stall. I heard from others that Willow's family wasn't well off. To help support them, she rarely attended evening self-study sessions, choosing instead to sell food at night to make ends meet. The teachers turned a blind eye to it. As for me, I was a day student, so after school I often passed by on my way home. 1 grilled noodles, no chili. All right. 1 order, no chili. All right. 1 order. All right. We repeated this conversation like machines. After a while, whenever I showed up, she would automatically start preparing the noodles, just as I was happily waiting. A bunch of glowing bullet comments suddenly flashed before my eyes. Is this really what the so-called villain looked like as a teenager? She's gorgeous. I'm dying of laughter. I thought this male supporting role would try to redeem her. In his eyes, there's no desire for beauty at all, only a passion for grilled noodles. Who says unwavering choice isn't a form of salvation for a street vendor? Ha ha ha. I blinked, making sure I wasn't hallucinating from hunger. Villain. I looked at Willow again. The girl lowered her head, seriously checking the state of the noodles. Her brows and eyes were cool and distant, partly hidden under her air bangs, adding a faint sense of aloofness. Sensing my gaze, her hand paused. She looked up, her clear eyes shining brightly. I was speechless. Chapter 3. It was only then that I realized, for a girl selling grilled noodles, Willow was far too beautiful. Her eyes were long and narrow, with a small red mole beneath them, adding a touch of seductive charm to her otherwise cool demeanor. She did look a bit like a female villain, but the grilled noodles she made were ridiculously delicious. Smelling the fragrance wafting through the air, I swallowed my saliva and eagerly asked while staring at the noodles, "When will they be ready?" The bullet comments burst into chatter. Ha ha ha. The villain's flirtatious glance wasted on a blind man. That's how our foodie is, he loves beauties, but food always wins. Another comment popped up. This male supporting role is unbelievable. Who eats grilled noodles for 3 months straight? I skimmed over the comments, pursed my lips. No kidding. Seriously, no kidding. These grilled noodles made by the future female villain were truly amazing. Could it be that she became a villain in the future, by smuggling grilled noodles? As I was lost in random thoughts, a clear voice rang out by my ear. It's ready. I snapped back to reality. Looked at the steaming hot grilled noodles placed in front of me, the egg coating on the wrapper golden, sprinkled with black sesame seeds and fresh green scallions, with ham, lettuce, and pork tenderloin faintly visible inside, colorful and appetizing beyond words. I quickly thanked her repeatedly. And before even leaving, I impatiently took a big bite. Fresh off the grill was always the tastiest. Suddenly, I heard a soft laugh. Instinctively, I looked up, just in time to catch a fleeting smile on the girl's face. Seeing me notice, Willow didn't avoid my gaze. For once, she took the initiative to say something other than all right. She asked, "Is it really that delicious?" I replied, "Yours is really delicious." The words slipped out of my mouth without hesitation. Even a second's delay would have been disrespectful to the grilled noodles in my hands. But Willow seemed to have misunderstood. She stared at me intently, a shimmer of light flickering in her eyes, dazzlingly beautiful. Her lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to say something more. But just then, another customer came over and said, "Give me one with sausage, add egg and bacon too," while scarfing down my noodles. I helped advertise her stall. "The grilled noodles here are super tasty." The customer nodded without suspicion. "Is that so?" Seeing that there were already people at her stall, other passers-by also gathered over. Gradually, more and more customers came to buy. Satisfied, I retreated. Mission accomplished. But I didn't notice. The girl busy spreading the batter looked up again, only to find that I had disappeared into the crowd. Her gaze dimmed quietly. Chapter 4. I didn't take the matter to heart. The next day, I went to school as usual. During a break, I went to get some water and happened to run into Willow. I thought for a moment and pretended not to recognize her. After all, when she sold grilled noodles outside, she always wore a mask. Surely she didn't want her classmates to recognize her at school. So, I walked past her naturally. But Willow's steps faltered slightly. Bullet comments flashed in front of me again. Did Willow just want to say something? LOL. Her lips were puckered so high. George the foodie has eaten her grilled noodles for 3 months straight. How could he not even remember her face? But it doesn't matter anyway. After all, he's just an insignificant male supporting role. I ignored the bullet comments. The day went by quickly, and it was my turn for classroom duty. It was supposed to be me and my deskmate together, but when class ended, I looked around only to see my deskmate Makoto walking out. I instinctively stepped forward to stop him. "Hey man, today's our duty shift, did you forget?" Hearing that, Makoto paused briefly, cast me a cold glance, and said indifferently, "I've got something else to do, I'll leave it to you." With that, he hurried away. I subconsciously wanted to refuse, but before the words could leave my mouth, my gaze froze. Outside the classroom door, a familiar figure appeared in my sight. It was Maria, my childhood friend whom I had grown up with. She wore a preppy-style dress, and just by standing there casually, she carried an otherworldly air. Beside her stood several other girls, whispering about something, but all their eyes drifted this way, as if they were waiting for someone. When her gaze floated over here, my heart raced with excitement and nervousness. Was she here, to find me? My heartbeat quickened inexplicably. I was just about to walk over, but a figure moved faster. Makoto strode forward with a calm face. Maria's eyes lit up instantly. And she waved her hand. Makoto. My footsteps froze on the spot. At that moment, bullet comments mocked me again. What's this male supporting role even thinking? How could you compare to the protagonist Makoto? Just a background character. Better not humiliate yourself. Oh, now I remember. This male supporting role does have a bit of screen time. He's the second female lead's childhood friend, but not much. She'll reject him in seconds. Can't wait to see the second female lead humiliate her overconfident childhood friend. I was speechless. I fucking know already. How the hell could I still give her the chance to confess? I'm not stupid. Chapter 5. Not far away. Makoto didn't even glance at Maria. He walked straight past her, but Maria quickly followed in his steps. I stared. My hand at my side unconsciously clenched into a fist. I had known Maria for 18 years. It seemed like every time, I was the one waiting for her. I carried her school bag, moved her luggage, held her things, while she walked ahead with empty hands. Her pace never slowing. Impatiently urging, hurry up. I would grin foolishly at her, and trot along behind. Back then, I didn't know how to express liking someone. I only knew what online relationship bloggers said, that boys should show gentlemanly manners to girls, gifts, a sense of ceremony, emotional value, all maxed out, at that age of youthful awakening. It was so easy to blindly accept advice without questioning it, but in all these years, I had never seen that look on her face before, so cautious, so expectant, urgent, joyful. Liking someone, after all, is hard to hide. One glance is enough to give it away. I lowered my head. It was impossible not to feel disappointed. Silently, I turned back to the classroom. Today I'd need 2 portions of grilled noodles, to comfort my wounded heart. In the corridor, Willow, who had been about to leave, stood frozen, staring this way, the light in her eyes flickering uncertainly. Chapter 6. After returning to the classroom, it didn't take long before almost everyone had left. In the spacious classroom, soon there was only me left. I finished cleaning the whole room, working up a sweat. Unknowingly, the sky had already grown dark. By the time I wrinkled my nose while throwing out the trash, washed my hands, and walked out of the school, the streetlights were already lit. The snack street was filled with all kinds of stalls. At a glance, I spotted quite a crowd already gathered in front of Willow's grilled noodles stall. Just as I was thinking of going over to buy some, a sharp male voice rang out. Yo, isn't this our grilled noodles beauty, out here running your stall again? Hey, let me tell you guys, her family is dirt poor. I bet all this stuff isn't any good. Eat it and you'll probably end up with diarrhea. A few boys in school uniforms laughed as they grabbed at the food on the stall and tossed things around. One of them even kicked the cart. With a loud bang, the ketchup bottle fell to the ground and splattered everywhere. The passers-by quickly backed away. Within just a few minutes, the area around the stall cleared out, leaving it conspicuously isolated. Willow stood behind her stall, her expression cold. The group finished causing trouble but didn't leave. They deliberately sat down at another nearby barbecue stall to watch the show. The bullet comments exploded. People typed furiously. These guys are awful. Just because Willow wouldn't let them copy answers during the exam, they're pulling this kind of stunt. Sigh. I don't think Willow can keep running her stall like this. Life will only get harder from now on. My mood was already bad, and this only made it worse. Furious, I wanted to rush forward, but then I thought again, alone, I probably wouldn't stand a chance. I glanced around, then randomly grabbed a few passers-by and pleaded. Brothers, could you help me go buy a serving of grilled noodles from that stall? Just bring it back to me. I'll pay. The passerby didn't quite get it, but he agreed readily, saying, sure. They took my money and went to Willow's stall. Those troublemakers hadn't expected that after all this, someone would still buy food. They glared in anger, their eyes widening. But since I had found several people, they didn't dare recklessly rush up, and could only watch as Willow sold one serving after another. Then someone noticed me and shot me a vicious glare. I was still staring at the stall, and by the time I realized, that person had already walked up to me. Behind the stall, Willow had been busy, but as if sensing something, she suddenly raised her head. When she saw what was happening here, her pupils shrank sharply. Chapter 7. Hey, do you like Willow or something? A mocking, sarcastic voice suddenly drilled into my ear. I froze for a moment, then as soon as I turned my head, a fist landed squarely on my face. My jaw nearly dislocated from the blow. The pain made my eyes narrow, and I instinctively staggered back several steps. Damn idiot, minding other people's business. Are you looking to die? The man's voice instantly turned vicious and cruel. Rage surged up inside me, and I lunged at him, smashing an elbow hard into the back of his neck. He grunted in pain, but clung tightly to me, refusing to let go, and we wrestled into a tangled mess. The few others who had been sitting at the barbecue stall quickly rushed over to pin me down. The man wiped his bloody nose, then raised his fist to smash it into my face again. I couldn't break free, and instinctively turned my head away, yet the expected pain never came. The next moment, with a heavy thud, I opened my eyes to see the men who had been in front of me now sprawled on the ground. Willow stood there, her gaze shadowed and cold, clutching a rolling pin in her hand. With ruthless force, she brought it down on his head again. The whole scene froze. Everyone was stunned. Passers-by stopped to watch. Some even pulled out their phones to record. The gang finally reacted. One thug rushed forward and yanked Willow's ponytail, while another raised his hand to slap her. Just as I struggled with all my strength, someone shouted from a distance, "Already called the police." At those words, the group instantly panicked. They spat out a vicious threat, "Just you wait." Then they dragged their injured buddy, shoved through the crowd, and fled in embarrassment. Willow's body was still trembling slightly, but she bent down to help me up, her eyes full of worry as she asked, "Are you okay?" I quickly scanned her from head to toe to confirm she wasn't hurt, then gave a low grunt. "I'm fine. How about you?" The crowd dispersed, disappointed that the excitement was over. She shook her head. "I'm fine too." For a moment, neither of us spoke. When she lifted her eyes and saw the bruise on my face, her eyes turned red, but she restrained herself. Willow returned behind her stall. I stood in front for a while, watching, guilt gnawing at me since no one else came to buy food. The passers-by who had promised to help earlier had all left after the incident. After some hesitation, I said awkwardly, I can." Her soft voice asked, "Still just one serving?" I blinked. Then, remembering everything that had happened today, shook my head. "Today I'll take 2. She replied, "All right, maybe it was just my imagination." But as Willow prepared the second serving, it seemed as if a dark cloud hung over her expression. Absent-mindedly, she added chili peppers. I watched as she brushed layer after layer of chili sauce over the noodles. Thinking she was upset from being harassed, I held back from saying anything. It wasn't a big deal. At worst, I'd just drink a few extra bottles of water. 10 minutes later, the 2 servings were ready. Willow handed them to me. I paid and reached out to take them, but just before they reached my hands, her movement paused. She bit her lip and suddenly said, "Senior year isn't the time for romance." I looked completely dumbfounded. What the hell was she babbling about? All I could think about were the noodles drenched in chili sauce, and how I needed to buy some water first. Distractedly, I mumbled, "I'll be going then." Willow was speechless. Chapter 8. The bullet comments were filled with discussion. Wait a second, what did she mean by that? Probably just sympathy in misfortune. She likes the male lead, but he doesn't like her. The male supporting role likes the childhood friend, the second female lead, but she doesn't like him. Both of them are loveless. There were also comments like, am I the only one who feels like something's off? I ignored the bullet comments. First, I ate the portion of grilled noodles without chili, then forced myself to finish the spicy one as well. Even though I drank a lot of water, I really wasn't good with spicy food. The next day, after a night's sleep, my throat was completely hoarse, and it still hadn't recovered when I went to school. David. I tried calling a few times, but barely any sound came out. It was break time. The guy in front laughed so hard he nearly fell out of his chair, teasing me. "George, what did you do?" Makoto, sitting next to me, turned his head slightly and said, "Thanks for helping me clean yesterday." I was speechless. No need to thank me. I wasn't that noble, but on the surface, I forced myself to nod, rasping in a hoarse voice, "Don't mention it. After all, it was just a small matter. I wouldn't make a big deal out of it." Makoto fell silent for a moment, then suddenly stood up and walked out. He was always aloof, doing things his own way. I didn't think much of it, but after a while, he came back. The next second, a box of throat lozenges, 2 bottles of cough syrup, and a large cup of hot drink appeared on my desk. I froze. Makoto didn't look at me. He just sat back in his seat, picked up his pen, and began writing quickly. His voice was light as he said, "Consider it a thank you gift." I stared at the things in front of me, then looked up again. In an instant, Makoto's image became so much greater in my eyes. The frustration I had bottled up from yesterday suddenly melted away. He really was the male lead. So righteous, so generous. No wonder Maria liked him. Chapter 9. The bullet comments were filled with discussion. Whoa, our male lead is so kind. Even to a male supporting role. Truly worthy of being the male lead. Another comment said, "Why is the male supporting role staring at the male lead like that? Don't tell me he's jealous of him." Others chimed in, "Exactly, he's definitely bottling up bad thoughts again, planning to take revenge on Makoto." As a guy myself, I can't stand men like that. If you like someone, you should give her freedom. Don't think that just because you gave her gifts, she owes you a relationship. If you ask me, holiday presents and daily transfers are things a man should do. If it were the girl I loved, I wouldn't be able to bear letting her suffer any grievance. The next bullet comment replied, "That comment above, don't go too far. She doesn't have to accept if she doesn't want to. What kind of nonsense is wanting both ways?" Seeing the bullet comments, I was a little speechless, but honestly, I did feel some envy toward Makoto. Makoto had good grades, a handsome appearance, and effortlessly won Maria's affection. How could I not mind at all? But to say I was harboring dark thoughts was going too far. What fault was it of Makoto's that Maria liked him? Why would I ever take revenge on him for that? Besides, Maria wasn't the only girl in the world. Couldn't I just like someone else? Once I thought it through, a sense of relief washed over me. The last class of the day was PE. When class ended, I was just about to step out of the school gates when bullet comments suddenly appeared in front of me. The male lead is about to be tricked into the equipment room and bullied, and as a result, he'll miss the chance to see his grandfather one last time. Whoa. These past few days the male lead has been rushing off in such a hurry, all because he was going to the hospital to visit his sick grandfather. Sigh. By the time the male lead gets there, it's already too late. I stared intently at the bullet comments in front of me. Wasn't the male lead none other than my deskmate Makoto? My steps faltered for just a moment, and without much thought, I turned around and ran back into the school. Chapter 10. The bullet comments popped up. Why did the male supporting role suddenly turn back? Wasn't he supposed to go eat grilled noodles at this time? Maybe he forgot something and went back to get it. That's very possible. I didn't have time to keep watching the bullet comments. Afraid I would be too late, I ran straight toward the equipment room, but at a glance, I didn't see Makoto anywhere. Was he already inside? The sun had just set, and dark clouds gathered across the distant sky. It looked like rain was coming any moment. Without thinking further, I rushed to the equipment room. I ran too fast. When I reached the steps, I lost my footing and slipped, tumbling down hard, flat on my back. Pain shot through my knee and ankle so sharply that I couldn't recover for a long time. Sticky blood trickled down from my knee. Now that I was closer, I faintly heard Makoto's trembling voice from inside. "Is anyone out there?" "Yes," I croaked. I forced my hoarse throat to shout back, but it sounded eerie and frightening. Inside, it went quiet for a moment. Then a hesitant voice asked, "George, is that you?" I nodded, then realized he couldn't see me. Feeling foolish, I forced myself up and limped over to pull open the equipment room door. As the door swung open, a strong smell of plastic and earth rushed out. I looked up to see Makoto crouched in the corner. Hearing the noise, he lifted his head. That was when I realized how pale his face was. Cold sweat dripping from his temple as if he were enduring some great pain. The bullet comments came again. "The male lead has claustrophobia. No wonder he looks so bad. Poor male lead. But it's okay. The bright sunshine heroine is about to arrive." Wow. The male supporting role really came to help the male lead. He's actually not a bad guy after all. Claustrophobia. I frowned, limping toward Makoto and asked tentatively, "Are you okay?" He forced a weak smile. "I'm fine, thank you." With that, he struggled to his feet, staggering toward the door. I knew he was heading to see his grandfather, so I didn't stop him. Just then, hurried footsteps echoed from afar, more than one pair. Two girls appeared at the entrance of the equipment room. One I had never seen before, but she was stunningly beautiful. That must have been Freya, the female lead mentioned in the bullet comments. The other was someone I knew well, Maria. Both of them spoke at almost the same time. "Makoto, are you okay?" Makoto frowned, waving his hand as he tried to push himself forward. But before he could take a few steps, he suddenly collapsed forward, losing consciousness. The two girls panicked. Freya rushed to support him, clumsily lifting him and urging, "Let's get him to the hospital." Maria quickly moved to hold up his other arm. I opened my mouth to call her, but my throat failed me. All that came out was a raspy breath. "Maria." It seemed she heard something, because Maria glanced back. But at that exact moment, thunder cracked loudly across the sky. Before I could try again, Maria turned away and said, "Don't get caught in the rain. Let's hurry." Freya replied, "Okay." Their figures quickly disappeared into the misty rain. Chapter 11. The bullet comments scrolled by. Why do I feel like the male supporting role is so pitiful? He clearly came to save the male lead, but everyone ignored him. Well, that's how it is. He's not the protagonist, so he doesn't have the protagonist's halo. Another bullet comment said, "I bet Willow will hear the news and rush to the hospital to see the male lead too. Today George probably won't get to eat any grilled noodles." I hadn't felt sad at first, but when I saw that last comment, I suddenly couldn't hold it in. Was I really that miserable? The last trace of daylight was swallowed by the night. The entire equipment room sank into darkness. Raindrops drifted in, carrying a bone-chilling cold. I hadn't brought an umbrella. With a sigh, I limped into the rain. The water hit me hard, icy and uncomfortable. I headed toward the school gates, but my injured leg made every step slow and painful. Yet, inexplicably, after walking out the gates, I didn't go home right away. Instead, I went to the snack street. Because of the rain, there were very few pedestrians. The scattered food stalls looked dim and lonely. At a glance, I didn't see the familiar stall. My heart sank, as if something had clogged it up. As expected, there would be no grilled noodles for me today. Lowering my head in disappointment, I was about to turn and leave when suddenly I heard the sound of urgent footsteps, not from ahead, but from behind. I turned back cautiously, but when I saw who it was, I froze. Chapter 12. Within just a few minutes, the anxious face of a girl appeared before my eyes. Caught off guard, our gazes collided. In confusion, I said, "Willow." I opened my mouth slightly, looking at the girl in front of me with some surprise. Shouldn't she be at the hospital at this time? Before I could think further, Willow strode quickly toward me. She looked as if she had run all the way. Her long hair was already soaked by the rain. Behind her, the streetlights glowed one after another. Before I could take a closer look, she shoved an umbrella into my hands. Her eyes looked a little tense as she asked, "Was it those guys from last time who came after you again? I just saw you limping." I stared at her blankly, taking quite a while before coming back to my senses. I shook my head and said, No, why are you here?" At my words, the girl froze, staring straight at me. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice carrying a faint hint of grievance as she asked, "Why didn't you come to buy grilled noodles? I've been waiting for you for so long." The moment I heard that, my heart trembled slightly. Did that mean she was waiting for me? My heartbeat skipped for a moment. Looking around awkwardly, I asked, "Where's your stall?" She replied, "There were plenty of open spots today, so I found a good one." But then it started raining. She pointed into the distance. Following the direction of her finger, I finally noticed she had changed her location, right at the entrance of the street. Usually, the foot traffic there was heavy. It was a great spot. Unfortunately, it rained. I felt a pang of regret for her, but after thinking a bit, I still told her, "By the way, Makoto seems to be sick." But before I could finish, Willow interrupted, asking, "What happened to your voice?" At that, I looked at her helplessly. The bullet comments burst out. Ha ha ha. Willow's face full of concern. If only she knew she's the culprit. If it weren't for her super spicy grilled noodles, the male supporting role wouldn't have lost his voice today. Another comment said, but Willow abandoned her stall and deliberately ran back to school to look for the male supporting role. Although she didn't catch him, she was truly worried that the male supporting role wouldn't come to buy her grilled noodles. Ha ha ha. The next bullet comment said, "Are you serious with your comment above? You're really impossible to reason with." Willow, not understanding, seemed to think of something. Her eyes dimmed slightly. Then she lowered her gaze and glanced down at me. In a quiet voice, she asked, "Did you hurt your leg? Let me take you to the hospital." I was speechless. If you want to go to the hospital to see Makoto, just say it directly. Why beat around the bush? But I didn't expose her. At least she was willing to help me. So I simply nodded and said, Chapter 13. What I didn't know was that, over at the hospital, after Makoto regained consciousness, something suddenly came to his mind. He turned his head toward Maria and asked, "Maria, do you know George?" Caught off guard by the sudden mention of George, Maria instinctively distanced herself, replying, "Not really. He's just a neighbor." Hearing this, Makoto didn't think much of it. He only frowned slightly and said, "Just now, George rushed over to help me, but it looked like he fell. It seemed serious. He was limping. I don't know if he made it back yet. Since you're his neighbor, could you check on him for me?" George fell. Maria's brows knitted together, but she quickly replied, "He's tough. I'm sure he's fine. You didn't look well just now. I'll go buy you something to eat." With that, she turned and walked toward the hospital's small convenience store. But after only a few steps, something unusual happened. Maria's footsteps paused. She suddenly remembered, when she was little, every time she fell, as long as she looked back with teary eyes, she would see George's panicked expression. Even if she could stand up right away, he would insist on taking her to the hospital for a checkup. She had no romantic feelings for George, but she had always taken it for granted. But now, just before leaving the equipment room, she thought she had heard someone call her name. At that time, she had turned back, but hadn't seen anyone. Maybe it was because all her attention had been on Makoto. Thinking back now, it was very likely that George had been calling her. The thought made her feel strangely conflicted, but soon, she forced herself to clarity. She thought, George is a grown man. What's a little injury? Pitying a man only brings bad luck for life. With that thought, Maria lifted her foot and continued toward the small store. But after just a few more steps, she suddenly met my eyes head-on. Seeing who was beside me, her gaze wavered slightly. Chapter 14. My right hand was resting on Willow's shoulder. Though her figure was slender, she still supported me as we slowly walked forward. At first, Willow didn't notice Maria. When she saw me stop, She thought it was from pain. Her brows furrowed slightly as she asked, "Can't walk anymore? Should I go find a wheelchair for you?" When I didn't respond, Willow sensed something was off. She turned her head and immediately caught sight of Maria staring at me. Seeing her, Willow's gaze shifted several times, but in the end, she said nothing. I wasn't surprised to run into Maria at the hospital. After all, I'd seen them heading this way earlier. I broke the silence first, asking, "Is Makoto doing better?" Perhaps not expecting me to mention Makoto on my own, Maria's eyes flickered. Her gaze lowered to my knee, where rainwater mixed with streaks of blood, and her expression grew complicated. Pressing her lips together, she finally said, "He's fine. He's with his grandfather." I smiled and replied, "That's good." A weight lifted from my chest. It seemed I had made it in time. My worries hadn't been in vain. Asking a classmate to check on Makoto had, by coincidence, given them the news earlier. After my words fell, silence returned once more. I glanced at Willow from the corner of my eye, wondering to myself, was she planning to go see Makoto too? Before the thought even settled, Willow said, "Done asking, then let's go." Her clear voice rang in my ears. Puzzled, I turned my head, only to meet a pair of dark eyes. Before I could say anything, she slipped her arm through mine and said in an affectionate tone, "Let's go." The girl pressed close to me, carrying with her the savory scent of grilled noodles. I couldn't help swallowing, then immediately felt embarrassed, quickly pretending to be busy looking at the hospital scenery. Because of that, I missed the faint blush on her ears, and the slightly provocative look she cast at Maria as we passed. Maria was speechless. The bullet comments flashed wildly across the screen. Did I imagine it? Or was there something unusual in Willow's look just now? Anyway, I think the two of them look good together. I'm officially a Willow x George fan now. Honestly, Maria is such an ungrateful brat. Even if she only saw George as her childhood friend, she shouldn't be so indifferent when he's taken such good care of her. But since her eyes are only for the male lead, it's her loss if she misses out on the childhood friend's love. Seeing the bullet comments, my heart stirred. I subconsciously turned my head to look at Willow. Her features were delicate, beautiful, with a pure and refined grace. Her gaze remained fixed forward. What a joke. How could she possibly like me? Chapter 15. By the time the bandaging was done, it was already 7 or 8 o'clock. I sat on a chair in the hospital lobby, watching her run around for me, and felt a bit guilty. I said, Your stall is still out on the street. You should go back. Don't worry about me. I'm fine now. I'll head home soon." But she shook her head. "Missing one day of work doesn't matter." She sat down next to me, staring at the gauze on my knee. "Why don't I just get a wheelchair and push you back?" I quickly waved my hand. No need. I already called my dad. He'll come pick me up. You should go take care of your business," she said softly. "All right," she agreed, but didn't leave. I waited for a while, but still didn't see her get up. Confused, I glanced at her. Willow was watching me. When she realized I'd caught her, she turned her head away and covered her lips with a hand, coughing lightly in embarrassment. She said awkwardly, "I'll wait until your dad gets here before I leave." I laughed. "Look at you. I'm a tough guy. All skin and bones. It's just a fall. Do you really need to worry this much?" But she countered, "So men don't need to be cared for. Men get hurt too. Men need a sense of security too. Everyone has flesh and blood. Why should men's feelings be ignored?" I was momentarily speechless, my heart pounding wildly. Chapter 16. After that night, my relationship with Willow advanced rapidly. After school, I eagerly went to her stall. 1 serving of grilled noodles. No chili. "Got it," Willow answered as usual, but when I received it, I weighed it in my hands and suddenly felt it was unusually heavy. Looking down, I realized the noodles were a double portion, and the ingredients inside were doubled too. There weren't many customers at the stall. When she saw I wasn't eating, Willow frowned slightly. "What's wrong?" Hearing her voice, I came back to my senses, looking at the grilled noodles in my hands, then at Willow. I couldn't hold it in anymore and asked, "Should I pay you for 2 servings? For a moment, Willow froze, her expression blank. After a pause, she forced out, "No need." My hand slipped today. I added too much. The bullet comments scrolled by. Ha ha ha. The villainess is finally expressing her feelings in such a subtle way, but this clueless foodie didn't get it at all. Who on earth accidentally doubles the portion? She can't hide her feelings anymore. The next one read, "The male supporting role doesn't talk, he'll just insist on paying." I saw her cheeks flush crimson, and my heart suddenly pounded fast, my breathing quickening with it. I said, "Thank you, I really like it." "Speaking of what I like, would you be willing to?" The next second, she blurted out, Yes, I like you too." The snack street was crowded and noisy, but in that instant, it felt as if time had stopped. I stared blankly upward, meeting her earnest eyes across the stall, and then, boom. It was as if fireworks exploded in my mind. Chapter 17. I was almost at a loss. But seeing my expression, she chuckled and said, "Hurry up and eat, or it'll get cold." "All right," I replied. I picked up a piece and put it in my mouth, chewing. One bite, then I glanced at her, another bite, then I looked at her again. Willow noticed, and the smile at the corner of her lips deepened. She asked, "Want another serving? Free for my boyfriend." Since childhood, I was never the type to take advantage. Without hesitation, I pulled out 200 yuan and said, "No need, I've got money, I can cover your whole stall." Willow laughed. "All right then." The bullet comments flared up. "Ahahaha. Spread the word, the villainess was bought for 200 yuan. Not gonna lie, even if the plot is a little different from the original, I love this. The male supporting role and the villainess actually look good together." Another comment said, "Was the villainess supposed to like the male lead? Why is she suddenly into the male supporting role?" Dazed, I stared at the bullet comments, feeling like I was dreaming. I actually ended up with the villainess. But whether she was a villainess or not didn't matter. In my world, only Willow mattered. Chapter 18. After getting together with Willow, our daily lives didn't change much. With the college entrance exams approaching, she temporarily gave up her stall to focus on studying. I couldn't eat grilled noodles anymore, but I refused to eat from other stalls, so I studied with her instead. Sometimes, when Willow had time, she would cook at home and bring the food to me. What used to be for everyone became something only for me. I happily munched away. Willow rested her chin on one hand, leisurely watching me, her gaze soft as water. "Eat slowly, there's still more." Swallowing, I asked, "How much more?" Her eyes sparkled with amusement as she said, "As much as you can eat, there will be that much." Chapter 19. Later, the college entrance exams ended. I was admitted to University A. Although Willow didn't get into University A, she was accepted into a good school in the same city as mine. I made a point to ask around and found out Makoto had gone south, and Maria had also gone to study there. When I mentioned this, I couldn't help but watch Willow's expression, and tentatively asked, "Willow, do you know Makoto?" "I should tell you, he was quite the star at our school," she replied. Turning her head, as if knowing what I was thinking. She didn't hide anything. "He helped me once before. If he ever needs my help, I'll return the favor." But I can distinguish between gratitude and love. Gratitude is basic decency, but it never means offering myself in return. Her expression was serious as she spoke, her clear gaze falling straight on me. Then, suddenly standing on tiptoe, she kissed me. "He's a good person, but so are you. You're kind, brave, and sincere. Don't belittle yourself." My heart trembled. Staring at her in a daze, I suddenly smiled knowingly, lowered my head, and kissed her lips. "Thank you." After the kiss, I pinched her cheek and was about to leave, but she hooked her arm around my neck. Her voice turned alluring as she whispered, "Something just passed over my lips." I didn't see clearly. "Do it again." The bullet comments went wild. "Ah, too sweet." I'm waving the flag for the grilled noodles couple. "I'm a premium member. Let me watch first. I want the full process." Chapter 20. College life was busy and fulfilling. I heard that Makoto didn't end up with either Freya or Maria. He devoted himself to medical research, determined to develop a special medicine to treat the same illness his grandfather had suffered from. Maria stayed by his side all along, but their relationship never progressed further. But I no longer cared. I was busy building my own business. Of course, not in the grilled noodles trade. I majored in artificial intelligence, and the intelligent program I developed became a nationwide sensation as soon as it launched. Still, when I came home, I could always eat the grilled noodles Willow made just for me. Smelling the aroma as I entered the house, I wrapped her in my arms. Looking at the noodles simmering in the pot, I couldn't stop drooling. I praised, "Yours are still the best." Willow's lips curved slightly as she replied, After dinner, her soul-stirring, seductive gaze fell upon me. I immediately sensed trouble and quickly said I needed to work late. But the next second, she straddled my lap, lightly biting her finger. With eyes full of alluring charm, she whispered, "You're full. Now it's my turn to eat." Life was simple and ordinary, yet it was the very dream Willow had once longed for endlessly. A life she thought she could never reach.